There is a type of athlete that baseball has always craved and rarely found. Someone who never looks rattled, someone who doesn't silence the crowd, who simply doesn't notice it. He grew up in a small Ohio town, and that environment produced a competitor unlike any other. He went on to become one of the most composed athletes in professional football. That athlete was Joe Burrow, and he chose football. But what if he didn't? What if Burrow, the man whose defining quality is his absolute, almost unsettling calmness, had walked into professional baseball instead? Not to overpower hitters, but to do something far more interesting to a sport that is, at its core, a psychological warfare game. And what if the thing that made him dangerous on a football field made him terrifying on a pitcher's mound? What if the coolest athlete in America never threw a football pass? Not because he wasn't good enough, not because the moment was too big, but because there is a version of this story where the sport that suited him best wasn't football at all, where the game that most rewarded what he was, composed, methodical, psychologically immovable, was one played 162 times a year in front of crowds that specialize in making athletes feel small. This is not a story about Joe Burrow dominating baseball with his arm. This is a story about what happens when the calmest competitor alive enters the sport that punishes panic more than any other. Let's AltPlay this. Before we go into alternate reality mode, let's understand what we're actually working with. Joe Burrow grew up in Athens, Ohio, where his father, Jimmy Burrow, was the head football coach at Ohio University. Sports were not a hobby in that household. They were the environment. And from early on, Burrow displayed something that coaches noticed before they noticed anything else. He didn't process pressure the way other kids did. He slowed down when situations sped up. In football, that quality produced one of the most statistically extraordinary single seasons in college history. In 2019, Burrow threw for 60 touchdowns and just 6 interceptions at LSU, winning the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin in modern voting history. He went on to become the first overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He led the Cincinnati Bengals to Super Bowl 56 in just his second season. But here's what the statistics don't fully capture. Burrow is elite not because of what he does, but because of what he doesn't do. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't rush. He doesn't change his breathing when the margin narrows. In a fourth-quarter elimination game, he looks the same as he does in the first quarter of a preseason opener. And that specific quality is the rarest thing in professional sports. In football, that quality is valuable. In baseball, it is transformative. Here's something that gets overlooked in conversations about what makes baseball hard. It's not the athleticism or the reaction time. What makes baseball genuinely harder than almost any other sport is the failure rate, and what that failure rate does to the human brain over a season. A pitcher with a 3.5 ERA is considered excellent. A hitter batting .280 is above average, and failing 7 out of 10 at-bats. The sport is built around public failure. Strikeout, homer, rain, empty dugout, manager staring, calendar pages flying. 162 games, and you have to come back the next day like none of it happened. What Burrow has is exactly that infrastructure. He doesn't carry yesterday into today. The bad outcome happens. He processes it, and he moves to the next pitch. That is not a skill most athletes develop. It either exists or it doesn't. And in our alternate world, it exists on a pitching mound. His profile as a pitcher would not be built on velocity. It would be built on tempo, sequencing, and the psychological manipulation of space and time within an at-bat. He doesn't blow you away. He makes you doubt yourself, and then he just waits for the next one.
The extensive action of his young
It's
NFL
2021. Burrow enters professional baseball instead of the NFL draft. He is not the most heralded arm in his class. Scouts like the frame, the athleticism, the feel for sequencing that separates him from raw velocity prospects. What they can't fully quantify is the composure. They've seen it. They just don't have a number for it. The minor leagues do what they always do. They test it. 3-run inning in Double-A against a lineup that has timed his fastball. Manager comes to the mound. Burrow's pulse doesn't change. He takes the ball. He goes back to work. Not because he isn't registering what happened, but because registering it is not the same as being controlled by it. His pitching coaches notice something strange. He never overthrows when he's in trouble. Most young pitchers, when the situation tightens, try to add something. More velocity, more movement, more everything. Burrow does the opposite. He simplifies. He slows his delivery. He goes back to the pitch that works and trusts it to work again. That is what elite pitching looks like. Not domination, regulation, the ability to manage the storm without becoming part of it. But wait, this is AltPlay, and we're going further. Because here's the moment that changes everything. It's 2024. Burrow has reached the major leagues. His fastball sits at 93, 94, above average but not elite. What separates him is everything that surrounds it. His walk rate is among the lowest in the league. His pace between pitches is deliberate, slow enough to make hitters feel like time itself is being managed against them. Pitch clock, stops, crowd slows, dust floating, breathing, pitch. Everything explodes, then silence again. He controls the rhythm, and when hitters try to disrupt it, he just waits, patiently, expressionlessly. No emotion. The hitter adjusting gloves, steps out, looks nervous. Burrow stands completely still. No blinking, no movement. That contrast, that absolute stillness against visible anxiety, is more intimidating than any display could be. He catches the ball from the catcher, looks in for the sign, and goes again. Strike, ball, changeup, fastball, curve. Not beating hitters physically, moving them mentally, like chess. Here's where it gets philosophically interesting. Sports analytics has spent years trying to prove that clutch performance is statistically inconsistent, that players who perform well under pressure in one situation don't reliably do so in the next. The argument is that what we call clutch is largely sample size and randomness dressed up as character. And then there is Joe Burrow. In football, he didn't just perform in high-leverage moments, he performed better. His completion percentage went up in fourth quarters. His decision-making sharpened when the game was on the line. The statistical noise that obscures most players' clutch profiles wasn't noise for him. It was signal. In our alternate world, that signal carries over. His October numbers are different from his regular season numbers, not dramatically, but measurably. His strikeout rate climbs in elimination games. His walk rate drops. The explanation isn't mystical. It's that Burrow's psychological baseline is already so controlled that when the environment tightens, he barely has to adjust. Most athletes are fighting their nervous system in pressure moments. Burrow's nervous system is already where it needs to be. This is the question that analytics can't fully answer. Can certain athletes psychologically alter what pressure even means? Not resist it, not manage it, actually change the equation, so that a moment that would break someone else just becomes another pitch. The evidence, in 2 sports now, says yes. There is another layer to this that doesn't show up in the box score. Baseball has spent the better part of a decade trying to solve a branding problem. The sport is slower than football, less physical than basketball, harder to follow than soccer. Its stars are often technically brilliant but culturally invisible. In our alternate timeline, Burrow becomes exactly what the sport has been looking for. Not because he performs for the camera, but because he doesn't. He doesn't perform at all. He just shows up, takes the mound, and makes it look like the most natural thing in the world to strike out the side in the 7th inning of a playoff game. That restraint, that quiet, almost indifferent excellence, becomes its own aesthetic. Highlights of him not reacting go viral. Young pitchers talk about wanting his presence on the mound. Catchers who work with him describe what it's like behind the plate when he's pitching as something close to peace, the sense that nothing bad is going to happen because he simply won't allow it. Baseball has had stars who were explosive, stars who were technically perfect, stars who were beloved. It has almost never had a star whose defining characteristic was an absence of fear, of panic, of any visible response to the moment. Burrow in this timeline becomes that. and the sport doesn't know what to do with him except watch. Here's the real question this story leaves you with. Did Joe Burrow become baseball's best pitcher or its calmest killer? Because there's a meaningful difference. The best pitcher is a statistical argument. The calmest killer is a psychological category. The player who changes what the game feels like when they're on the mound. Sandy Koufax had it. Greg Maddux had it differently. Not velocity, but absolute mastery of the space between pitcher and hitter. Mariano Rivera had it so completely that opposing hitters described walking to the plate as already feeling defeated. Not because of the cutter, because of him. October, rain, packed stadium, 9th inning, bases loaded, Burrow. No music, no commentary, just breathing. Strike 3, crowd erupts. Burrow simply walks away. Not the loudest star in the sport, not the most statistically dominant, just the one nobody wanted to face when the game actually mattered. Joe Burrow and a pitcher's mound. Does the calmest competitor in football become baseball's most dangerous postseason arm? I think the answer says something real about what we mean when we call an athlete clutch. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more alternate reality sports stories, the ones about psychology and pressure and what makes certain athletes different in ways that statistics can't fully explain, subscribe to AltPlay and hit the notification bell. We drop one of these every week, and the next one will surprise you even more. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.